And we are back. Man, it's been a while. I haven't podcasted in a while. I've been focusing on YouTube for the most part. But this is EndZoneBlog.com's Across the Middle show. I'm your host, John Kuzma. And I got to be honest with you guys. It's good to be back. The good thing about podcasting is I can just do it, Like I don't have to put on a nice shirt. I don't have to comb my hair, do all those things. I can just turn the mic on and go. And it's a beautiful thing. So let's get to it, though. We're going to talk about some football. We got the playoffs coming up. And this is when football really gets interesting. This is when we all love to watch because it all comes down to this. We're going to find out which one of these teams is really the best. And we got some great matchups this weekend. I mean, you look at that Dallas Cowboys and San Francisco 49ers game, I think all eyes are on that game because people don't realize that the Dallas Cowboys are a huge brand. Not just a huge brand, the biggest sports brand in the world. They get the biggest ratings. They're worth the most money as a franchise. And their fan base, people say the Cowboys are America's team. That's not true. The Cowboys are the world's team. They're loved in Mexico. They're loved in Canada. They're loved in England. Everybody loves the Dallas Cowboys. And which is kind of crazy because when you go on Google Trends and you Google Trends these teams and what you're doing, you're seeing which teams have the best ratings. The Cowboys are always the top team at all times. The Cowboys always have the highest ratings. Well, the San Francisco 49ers coming into this game this weekend had higher ratings than the Dallas Cowboys, which you almost never see. One time I seen the Pittsburgh Steelers have better ratings than the Cowboys, but the 49ers had better ratings than the Cowboys coming into this weekend. And it's huge because, there's this silent fan base there for the 49ers that kind of were just waiting to come out, and then this team gets in the playoffs because they battle back against the Los Angeles Rams. Probably, they probably pulled off a miracle if we're being honest, because their backs were really against the wall. Jimmy Garoppolo flipped the switch. He was clutch. Really took over in that fourth quarter of that game against the Rams. Then had a great drive in overtime too. Put that team in position to win. And I know some people will say, you didn't have a good first half, and, they'll say anything they can, but you got to realize that's football. And in football, sometimes things don't go your way, and you just have to battle back, and you have to overcome it. I don't think there's a 49ers fan out there that can hate on Jimmy Garoppolo after what he just did. I mean, look at what he had to go through. The team turned their back on him by drafting Trey Lance. His thumb was messed up. Trent Williams was out. That guy had every reason to fold, and he didn't. In fact, he put the team on his back. And in that moment, whether you like Jimmy Garoppolo or not, Jimmy Garoppolo showed that he's a true competitor. And I have to admit, I wasn't the biggest Jimmy Garoppolo fan. And I know he hasn't been great this year. His stats have been borderline average. I almost said borderline good, but let's be for real. They've been borderline average. But in that moment, with the season on the line, he stepped up. And you have to applaud the guy for that because he could have easily folded. And he had all these factors that, probably should have led to him folding, but he didn't. And, that says something about the guy's character. So you can't just completely hate on the guy. And then on the other side of it, the Dallas Cowboys, the world's team, America's team, whatever you want to call them, the biggest sports franchise in the world, the best ratings. It's all Cowboys all the time. Their television ratings drive the league. People don't realize that. Without the Cowboys, the NFL would be facing a much tougher challenge. That's how much the Cowboys bring to the table. Obviously, the Packers are huge too. Patriots, because of what they've been able to do. The 49ers, the Bears get a lot of love. those are franchises that have gone back a very long time, and they've developed a fan base and a huge, cult following over all the years. But the Cowboys, it's on another level. And I honestly, if we're being honest, I think the Cowboys should win this game. They're hosting. They've had a better record. I think Dak Prescott is a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. I think even though Michael Gallup's out, I think when you look at Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and what Cedric Wilson has done recently for the Cowboys, I mean, this guy has come out of nowhere. He finished the regular season very strong, and anytime Dak Prescott targets him, he comes through with a big play for this team. He's shown that he can be that third receiver along with Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, because we know what we're getting out of Lamb and Cooper. And I know Cooper's been a little frustrated there, but we know what kind of ball player he is when his number is called. I don't think we have to worry about Cooper. I don't think we have to worry about Lamb. Cedric Wilson really stepped up. And then the real big three this year was actually Cooper, Lamb, and Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz has really stepped up as well at the tight end position, created a lot of plays for this offense. So Dak has all the help he'll need, even with Michael Gallup out. Tony Pollard's getting healthier. I mean, the Cowboys should win this game. You flip onto the other side of the field, you got DeMarcus Lawrence, you got Micah Parsons, you got Trayvon Diggs, who, what do you have, 11 interceptions? 11 interceptions, and Pro Football Focus has him ranked like the 90th corner in the NFL. It's ridiculous. The guy's forced more turnovers than anybody. I've never seen a guy that's made so many plays, and we try to create this false narrative that he's not a good football player. I've never seen that to that magnitude, where we can't even celebrate the good with Trayvon Diggs. He's a gambler. He gets beat. He gives up too much yardage. Come on. How many of those guys at Pro Football Focus actually played football? Serious question. Trayvon Diggs, anybody would take that guy on their team, because the people who are coaching and conducting all these practices, they know how hard it is just to get one interception. And this guy's got, 11? He's got 11 interceptions. Come on now. I mean, that guy has forced more turnovers than just about anybody. He might have had more than anybody in the whole league. I mean, the guy was unstoppable. And a lot of that has to do with DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons, because if that pass rush wasn't so good, then all those corners and safeties would be getting beat more often, because, when Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence are in the quarterback's face and he's got to get that ball out quickly, that quarterback's going to make a lot of ill-advised throws. And that's when you see Trayvon Diggs, Jordan Lewis, and the rest of those guys jump in front of some of those passes and make some plays. It all starts with the D-line. If you have a bad D-line, your secondary are just kites flapping in the wind. But if you have guys like DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons and Randy Gregory that can just devour whoever's in front of them, good things tend to happen for the defense. It all starts in the trenches with the defensive line, and the Cowboys got a really good one. I mean, this team, they're better. On paper, they're a better team than the San Francisco 49ers. The only thing that worries me about the 49ers is they got Kyle Shanahan. And you know what they say? An army of sheep led by a lion will always beat an army of lions led by a sheep. So basically what that means is whoever your leaders are, whoever your generals are, whoever's got the better generals can get more out of their players. And nothing explains that more than Kyle Shanahan. He gets so much out of his team because he's such a good X and O's guy, and he's such a good play designer, and his creativity is off the charts when it comes to football. And Mike McCarthy, I think, piggybacked off Aaron Rodgers. I know he had a good year. He had a lot better year than he did his first year with the Cowboys, but let's face it, Dak got hurt. That changes things. And, look at Dak. In the last 3 games, 2 out of the last 3 games, the Cowboys have scored at least 50 points. 50 points. It's a lot of points. A 50 burger. And in those games, Dak Prescott, the 2 games they've scored 50, Dak Prescott has 9 touchdowns and no interceptions. That tells you how the Cowboys beat the 49ers, if they beat the 49ers. They beat them with Dak Prescott. Him playing a flawless game, him distributing the football, him getting the ball out to all of his playmakers, him not shooting himself in the foot with turnovers, by giving him protection in the pocket, by trusting Ezekiel Elliott and Pollard, if he can go, that those guys can make the most out of their touches and create a little spark on the ground. And just by having the whole machine, being a well-oiled machine, I think that's the way it happens for the Cowboys. And if that pass protection doesn't hold up, and if Dak takes a lot of shots, and if the 49ers defensive line, who's pretty good as well, we saw what they did to the Rams, they start collapsing that pocket and getting to Prescott and he gets frustrated, that's how the Cowboys lose this game. So almost all games are the same if you really pay attention. The team that has the better defensive line almost always wins. That's just a fact, because if you can't get anything going on offense and the defense is dominating you and your quarterback's getting hammered, you can already see how the game's going to go. And you can see it early on in games. Look at that Michigan and Georgia game. Georgia looked like a bunch of NFL players, and Michigan looked like a bunch of college kids in the college football playoffs. They look like a bunch of college kids. So you can see right away what defense is swarming. You can see right away when 11 helmets are getting to the football. And you can see when a team is just overwhelmed and outmatched. You can see it usually right away. And sometimes in football, swings happen. That's the great thing about the game. Sometimes a team gets their ass kicked in the first half. They go into halftime. They make some adjustments. And guess what? Those adjustments mean the world. And they mount this huge comeback. And not only is it just adjustments, it's also effort, because guys just say, hey, we're not going to let this happen, and they just leave it all out on the field. It happens over and over and over again, especially in the NFL, because no one's ever down and out until the final whistle blows in the NFL. We all know that. And, these games this weekend, they're going to be great. This is what we've been, waiting for. Of course, the Titans and the Packers got a bye. Rams and Cardinals, that's going to be a good one. Bucks and Eagles should be interesting. There's going to be some good games. And we're going to see, guys like Joe Burrow go against Derek Carr. And, this is where legends are made. You made it this far. You've, kind of ascended to the cream of the crop of the National Football League, but you can't just be content with this. And, in that Raiders and Bengals game, it's the same thing. Can Max Crosby get to Joe Burrow and cause Joe Burrow's pocket to collapse to the point where he can't distribute the football? Or do the Bengals give Joe Burrow enough time and Joe Burrow kind of just picks apart the Raiders? Because, if there's been a big winner this season, Joe Burrow's definitely one of them. He's having a great year, and if you give that guy time in the pocket, you know what he's going to do. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, the tight end, CJ Uzuma. Those guys have all stepped up for Burrow as much as he's got them involved, and it all starts with Burrow. Don't make any mistake about that. Burrow is the guy that's manufacturing all these plays, but on the receiving end of it, with Chase and Higgins and Yazuma, those guys have taken those opportunities and ran with them. That's just a fact. And it's been great, man. It's been a great year. I'm excited to watch some football this weekend. We'll have more answers in terms of what's going to happen here as the season winds down. You know, a lot of teams are done playing, kind of sad, but it's been a great year. We made it through without too many COVID shakeups, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see, you know, if Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers win another one. I'm excited to see if Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs bounce back and, you know, get their second Super Bowl. I'm excited to see if Brady can overcome the losses of Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin and still be the same Tom Brady that we've always known him to be. Like I said, we're going to have more answers soon. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm John Kuzma. I'm signing off.